Yo, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. So, I'm bringing you guys a Friday video. I know I haven't uploaded this week. Been kind of busy. Not really busy per se. Just, taking time to myself. But anyhow, I'm bringing you guys a Friday video at least. And, yeah, excuse the noise. Gardeners are outside working right now, raking rocks, and I'm not kidding at all. They're literally raking rocks. But anyways, what I'm going to talk to you guys about, and what the title implies, T-Mobile becoming the new Sprint. And what I mean by that is I'm talking from the consumer standpoint, and everything that I'm hearing and seeing and reading that consumers are talking about T-Mobile nowadays, which is almost nearly identical to how they've been talking about Sprint in the last 4 to 5 years. Now, we know this for a fact that when you go to a lot of places where people kind of congregate and talk about mobile carriers, the one that usually has the worst rap of all four is always Sprint. There's it doesn't even go maybe 5 comments later and someone has said something really negative about their experience with Sprint. This is something that we know. We know that Sprint has had a lot of issues. Gone to the point where they were even giving away free lines, which was probably one of the worst things that worked against their favor, even though they thought, free lines would bring people in, but not when you have such a bad reputation. However, since T-Mobile flipped the switch on their 5G, I've noticed that now they're the target, getting all the bullets fired off at them, and it's went even worse now that the merger has been approved. Now that attorney generals aren't banding together to try and block the merger anymore, and they're kind of letting this go through. It's starting to look a little bit like what some of the attorney generals were saying. Those who opposed the merger and wanted to block it are starting to sound like they pretty much knew this was going to happen. And that's kind of sad because a lot of us pretty much just went to bat for T-Mobile. A lot of us stood for T-Mobile and was pushing for Sprint to be absorbed by T-Mobile and for T-Mobile to get Band 41 and all the other assets that Sprint has and use that to their advantage to build out a 5G network coming in the coming future. I was one of those people. I supported the merger. I supported, Sprint pretty much going away and having a new fourth carrier and T-Mobile being what it can be. But seeing all these things like Metro customers, not Metro customers, but Metro employees being laid off, jobs being cut, is oh man. And here I was going off saying that these AGs want something out of it, and they did. Let's not excuse that fact. They actually did want something out of this. I mean, some of the AGs that were against the merger flipped and went pro merger once they negotiated some sort of deal with T-Mobile. So we know that they wanted something out of it, but it's kind of yeah, we got the merger, and those people who were very supportive of it can celebrate, but now have to pretty much eat that sandwich. Because yeah, when you see articles like T-Mobile axing Metro jobs, that was one of the things that was touted a lot when it came to those who opposed the merger. Was they're going to cut jobs, they're going to raise prices. And that's the second thing, is that we're hearing that they're raising prices. I mean, they've already raised prices on what I think their T-Mobile 360 thing. They raised it by a few dollars, and like I said in the past, you can't expect something like this not to happen. Prices are going to rise no matter what. But when you have prices rising coupled with axing of jobs, that kind of proves the AG's theory of why they didn't want the merger to happen. And so right now T-Mobile sits in the limelight, not for good reasons, but for a lot of bad reasons. As a matter of fact, there are some names being tossed around. It's being called Skunk Mobile, which is a funny phrase that I'm seeing a lot of from RFK, from Carlos, from everyone else involved in the community. And then up until recently, I don't know if you guys caught it, but Carlos actually did not a parody, more of a comical skit, where he went into a T-Mobile shop on a Tuesday and was asking for his rabies shot, for his free T-Mobile Tuesday rabies shot to get better 5G. And then he called customer care afterwards And I honestly on that video, I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought it was kind of funny though that the T-Mobile rep who he spoke to on the phone was literally going to look into it. Like that's just I don't know. I worked in call center environments before. I know how this stuff works. And if someone was to call and say, yeah, Sprint was doing a rewards program and they said I would get a free rabies shot, I would automatically know that that's not in the Sprint rewards program. I wouldn't even need to go look at some email that I got from the company that updated me on all the rewards we were giving out. Because what company actually gives out free rabies shots? I mean, that's just a no-brainer. But anyway, shout out to Carlos for that videos, man. Those videos were pretty cool. But I mean, but this is what T-Mobile's kind of bringing to the table now, is that a lot of people are seeing the negative, and they're actually quite surprised on it, and therefore it's yielding a lot of people to start opening up and talking about it. On top of that, yeah, it's just not a very good look. So that's why I say, in my opinion, like T-Mobile is now starting to become the new Sprint, and I think the merger roles reversed. And yeah, but one thing I will say is that it's not because of Sprint that T-Mobile is now the target of things. It's because a lot of the things that they say they're going to do or that we should be expecting up front, we're not getting. Like, I think if T-Mobile was a little bit more transparent and was like, hey, you know what? Let's be honest with our subscribers, and literally just tell you guys like, hey, with this whole merger thing happening, things are going to be darkest before the daylight, and so do expect some things to be, a little bit down or not up to par, but stick with us, we'll get there. If they came at it with that approach, I can really understand that. Okay, yeah, that's to be expected with any type of acquisition of another company. That's to be expected when these things happen. That's to be expected when new technology is being built. Nothing's going to be built perfectly and then released. It's going to take time for them to actually iron out all the bugs and make things smooth. But I think it's the fact of how they are very arrogant now with how they present themselves, and they want to create this illusion of a very strong front, but kind of like not address all the issues happening in the back end. And I think that's what's upsetting a lot of consumers. It's like they're the ones using the phones. They're the ones experiencing slower speeds, or not up to par speeds, or not the speeds they expected, or not the connections they were expecting. Metro employees are more nervous than anything because they're like, my store's closing, or my job's getting axed. A lot of these things come into play, and I really think that T-Mobile should have been upfront with a lot of its consumers, a lot of its customers, subscribers, and just kind of like outline what to expect. And as far as for employees, that really, really, really does suck that they're axing those kind of jobs and things like that. I couldn't even, sit here and say like, oh, it's just something so easy to just brush off. It's not. There are people that depend on this job to make their payments. There's families that live paycheck to paycheck and have everyday life struggles, when they're not wealthy, rich, or be able to just blow money like they want to. And this job that they have with Metro is the only source of income they have. Having to go and look for something else, is time consuming, stressful, and everything else. It just breeds a lot of things that just hurts a lot of families. And I think that's kind of like the saddest thing when you think about these jobs being cut. So anyways, guys, so those are just pretty much my thoughts about, T-Mobile becoming the new hated company out there. I know a lot of there's people who strongly back T-Mobile, like they strongly back their Androids or their iPhones. And you know what, that's kind of crazy. It is cool if you want to like show support for a company that you really enjoy using their services, but to overlook all the shortcomings and everything, that's not a good look, especially if you really want a company to thrive and survive and prosper. You can't overlook the shortcomings and all the I guess you would say mistakes that they're currently making, because then that doesn't leave room for growth and expansion. So anyways, that's just my thoughts for Friday's video, guys. Not really much to a Friday video, but I do appreciate those who stopped by and checked out the video. Dropped a like if you guys did, or if you just subscribed. Thank you so much for doing that too as well. Bell icon to be notified when I upload another video, and do check out my audio podcast. I am doing more on that platform as well. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and as always, aloha.
Let me out, I'm stuck in your pocket.